Just a sound check again to everybody. We're just admitting more people into the session. We'll be back with you in a few seconds' time. Thank you very much. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to yet another Transport Forum event. We've been running for more than 17 years, very proud of it, but always obviously being made possible by beautiful people like yourselves joining in and sharing and making the Transport Forum possible. And thank you very much for that. We really appreciate that. Ladies and gents, be talking today, and it's the 25th of April, 2024. We're talking about attaining cargo throughput, such an important topic. But while we're still admitting more people into the session, just some housekeeping. Please keep yourselves on mute. You're welcome to use the chat room to greet each other and share contact details. Please keep the discussions in the chat room related to the event's theme today. I really appreciate that. During the event, we will not allow questions and answers. We will keep that for the Q&A session or the panel discussion session at the end of the program. Then you'll be welcome to ask questions, but you're welcome to post questions in the chat room so long for the panelists that might already answer your question in the chat room. Else it will wait till the chat session itself, and then we will make sure that we address your question. So great session today. Great seeing all the faces. And let's put up our program for today. So there we go, Attaining Cargo Throughput, 25th of April, 2024. And we've been proudly being hosted today by the South African Association of Freight Forwarders. And thank you very much, Unita Maria and Deborah Naidu, Relene Malaya, all of you making this possible today and also helping us to put together this great program. We really appreciate that. Ladies and gents, as you have noticed that all our events are complimentary, including the related content on the web. So we obviously have sponsors making this possible, and we would like to give our sponsors some recognition during this process. But we're also having fun during this process. And we're going to have 2 prizes people can win. So we're going to run a quiz. So you should listen carefully when we share information about our sponsors. Because after this, we're going to ask questions. And those who answer the question right in the chat room, the first one, will win this prize. And you can see we've got today 2 of these magneto rechargeable LED lanterns. These are the bigger ones. It's got solar panel and everything. It's a very nice rechargeable light. And you might be the lucky winner of one of these lanterns. So listen carefully, and maybe you can answer the question right at the end. So our presenters or our sponsors and associates look like this. There we go. You can see we've got many associations formally in agreement with the Transport Forum, and we've got media houses, and then we've got gold sponsors. And we're quickly going to run through them and give some recognition to our sponsors. So our associations, there are obviously many involved with the Transport Forum, but these in a formal agreement. SAAFF being our host also for today. Let's work through these associations. So there's SAAFF, and you can see it already established in 1921 as a national association with members throughout the Republic of South Africa. And they've also shared a video with us. Let's have a look at it.
What does it take to compete on the world stage? To go head-to-head with the best of the best? Excellence, agility, resilience, the willingness to keep on evolving. It takes courageous leadership to be bold and chart the course, to connect the dots, bringing stakeholders together, to overcome the hurdles we all face, and to deliver best practice. It's about business at the click of a button, delivering at the speed of the internet, connecting people, products, and places, strengthening our supply chains, faster and more cost-effective than ever. Since 1921, we've given voice and vision to the freight forwarding industry, navigating the tides of international trade, evolving ever more sophisticated supply chains, bridging local and global markets to move our economy forward. Welcome to our world. the South African Association of Freight Forwarders, architects of transport for over a century.
Thank you so much, SAAFF. Great to be associated and supported by SAAFF. Ladies and gents, we've got a new association, the Multimodal Inland Port Association. They're actually launching on the 23rd of May through the Transport Forum, and we're very proud of having them on board. So you will still learn a lot about this great association. And the major focus here is to get the relevant freight back to rail. Such an important thing in our country. So thank you, MIPA, for your support. So then we've got the South African Express Parcel Association. They're the representative body and voice of the express delivery industry in South Africa. Thank you very much, SAAFF. And the South African Bus Operators Association, they're the voice of the bus and coach industry. Great association. Thank you very much for your kind support. And then the Road Freight Association, they say without trucks, South Africa stops. Green, smart, safe, legal freight. So they're taking care and representing the road freight industry. Thank you very much, RFA. We've got African Rail Industry Association, ARIA. So their association is preeminent body in South Africa, representing players in the railway industry. You can see their mission is to advocate for the rail industry and third-party access to the country's rail network. Thank you very much, ARIA. We really appreciate your support. Safer Stops Association, Nikki Scott, doing great work with this association. They've also got a great app, and we're going to tell you more in this next few days about this great app. And you can see they're uniting minds, sharing vision and resources. They're uplifting well-being, boosting road safety for our South Africa's commercial drivers. Very important work they are doing. Thank you very much, Safer Stops Association. Ladies and gents, following media houses are in formal agreement with the Transport Forum, proud in having their support. So let's have a look at them. We've got focus on transport and logistics. You can see they say this the leading transport logistics magazine, a trusted media partner for over 45 years. So thank you very much. Focus on transport and logistics, ladies and gents, and you need to subscribe to these magazines, otherwise you're losing out big time. I also want to say, should there be any of the sponsors or associates, representatives who want to say a few words, you're welcome to interrupt me while I put up your slide, and you're welcome to say a few words yourselves. Otherwise, I'm just continuing. Thank you very much. Focus on transport. So here we have South Africa's Freight News by Freight and Trading Weekly, FTW. It's in news and features for the import and export decision makers. Actually being part of the Transport Forum since inception in 2007. Very proud of them. Thank you very much. Freight News. Railways Africa magazine, the African continent specialist trade technical business-to-business online publication covering all aspects of the rail sector. Thank you very much, Railways Africa. We have engineering news from Creamer Media. You can see they're a premier source of real economy news. And they've also shared the latest news wrap with us for the week. Let's have a look.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, published on Friday, 26 April 2024. In this week's cover article, Engineering News and Mining Weekly editor Terence Creamer asks whether South Africa can turn around 30 years of real economy underperformance. Creamer Media's editor reflects on the factors that have shaped South Africa's real economy sectors of manufacturing, mining and agriculture over the past 30 years and considers ways to end the economy's persistent underperformance. The Engineering News features focus on gas, where compressed natural gas is set to benefit a South African business. Sewage and effluent, where a task team is established to enhance service delivery. And metal fabrication, where a fabricator offers a one-stop solution. The Mining Weekly features focus on new mining technologies, where there is a testing backlog as global interest in a new flotation technology grows. and Mandela Mining Precinct and MEMSA Profile, where there's a focus on programs driving technology development. This week's business leader is Henry Adams, the country manager at software supplier InterSystems. And as this week's cartoon shows, years of state capture, corruption, and ongoing crime and violence have left deep scars and have taken most of the gloss off any celebrations marking 30 years of democracy. Nevertheless, South Africa is still a significantly better place than it was before 1994 and has made some strides towards implementing the rights that underpin the constitution that emerged after the political transition. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly. Be sure to subscribe to the magazine that offers you in-depth news about developments in the real economy by emailing subscriptions@engineeringnews.co.za. Happy reading and see you next time.
Thank you so much, Engineering News. Great wrap of the week's news there. Ladies and gents, the Transport Forum's platinum sponsor is SAAFF. And they've also been part of the Transport Forum since inception. Very proud of being associated with this big brand, big brand and great brand. And they've also shared a video with us. Let's have a look.
A lot has changed in the 4 decades that we've been keeping vehicles and business equipment safe and always visible. And we've learned a thing or two along the way. That's why our focus is firmly on the future. A future that goes beyond just tracking and reporting, challenging the status quo and exploring what the power of technology combined with AI can unlock for your business. Because talking did not earn us the reputation of being the leader in fleet telematics solutions. Pushing boundaries with constant innovation did, and putting our customers first by asking, what if, what's next, and what's possible? For the power of foresight over hindsight to plan ahead and make smarter decisions. What if you could predict the optimal route to increase on-time deliveries and significantly reduce long-term maintenance? What if you could predict the best tractor speed on the day to reduce wasted spray and cover more ground with precision? Or if something as trivial as a few centimeters could predict the difference between maximum efficiency or maximum risk? Because in our world, and likely in yours too, having insights that can be used as foresight with a crystal clear view of the future is the only thing that matters to remain ahead for better control, better efficiencies, and better overall performance. It's the telematics and AI solution that goes beyond tracking and reporting. Step into the future with Crystal by SAAFF and experience the power to predict.
Thank you so much, SAAFF. Ladies and gents, University of Johannesburg also been part of the Transport Forum since inception. The Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management, also the School of Management in the College of Business and Economics at the University of Johannesburg. Prof. Jackie Walters, Prof. Nadine Pisa, big team, great team there, also mentoring myself a lot. So we're really thankful for University of Johannesburg support through all these years. Thank you very much, UJ. Right, Go Metro. They say unlocking the future of connected bus and truck mobility. So you can see, they say Go Metro's platform replaces yesterday's phone calls and spreadsheets with today's data-driven efficiency and prepares you for the transition to the electric fleets of tomorrow. You can see you can visit them there by typing in gometroapp.com. Right, you can see they're the masters of artificial intelligence, and they also recently joined the Transport Forum as a gold sponsor. Thank you very much, Go Metro. Unlock the future of connected bus and truck mobility. Kuba, gold sponsor transforming ticketing as part of the ICM Mobility Group. You can see they say their ticketing solutions have been successfully implemented in over 100 cities and regions worldwide, dealing with millions of daily transactions. So they know mobility. Thank you very much, Kuba. Standard Bank, over 160 years of experience, believe that dreams matter and together we can make them a reality. I've also got a short video on YouTube.
The group purpose is Africa is our home, we drive our growth. And driving Africa's growth goes to the nature of an institution that we are, which is an organization that is at the center of the economy, giving people the ability to pay, to borrow, to invest, and by ensuring their assets. We do all of this to fulfill that purpose of a financial institution, which is to help people to become active economic agents and contribute to economic growth.
We have found increasingly that we need to impact the communities that we operate in a very positive manner. We need to conduct our business in line with international best practices. We are signed up to the Equator Principles, which helps to protect our environment. We want to make sure that we're investing in infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're deepening financial services so that more and more people have access to financial services.
You can never provide a full service offering to the clients if you don't do so on the basis of an integrated standard bank offering, i.e. a universal bank. When we look at types of projects and companies and individuals that we fund, we have to be sensitive to the impact that they make on those communities. Do they contribute meaningfully? Are they ethical in their own behavior? Are they sensitive to issues of environment? Are they sensitive to the way they undertake and develop their own projects and initiatives? And Standard Bank believes very, very strongly in ensuring that ultimately the growth that we desire is a growth that benefits everyone.
We finance the building of airports, bridges, ports, which contribute to economic growth and contribute to the hard infrastructure that society needs for development.
How do we show up in such a way that is real and human in our customers? And it goes both ways. How do we see customers as individuals, but how do we also show up not as a monolithic bank, but as a human bank, as a local bank? And you might say that is a bit of a paradox because we're a universal bank. It's true, but we are a universal bank that feels local, that feels real.
Countries in Africa embrace democracy, embrace good macroeconomic policies, they will attract foreign capital, into their economies. And we as a group are well positioned to access those capital flows and also help drive investments in the right sectors.
Thank you so much, Standard Bank. We're moving forward with Standard Bank. Ladies and gents, Control Fleet is not a great gold sponsor of the Transport Forum. They say execute like never before. Let's have a look at their great video.
At Control Fleet, innovation is at the heart of every decision we make. We execute like never before. Our features include planning, scheduling, driver application, and our value proposition is continuous value and execution for you. We love logistics and transport operations, our clients, and our aim is to provide them with new age technology, innovate their business, and take them to the future.
What a great product. Thank you very much, Control Fleet. We've got Global Trade Solution. They say innovative solutions transforming the global supply chain. You can see they do consulting and strategy. We've got software solutions and specialized services. And it includes important things like clearing and forwarding, very much focus on the imports and exports industry. Thank you very much, Global Trade Solution, for your great gold sponsorship. Ladies and gentlemen, Bid Air Cargo fulfills the needs of the express cargo industry for daytime and overnight cargo capacity across comprehensive Southern and East Africa footprint. Let's have a look at their great video.
In the world of express freight, there's one name that stands above the rest: Bid Air Cargo. Our airport-to-airport line haul service is the backbone of South Africa's express freight industry. At Bid Air Cargo, we don't just deliver cargo, we go the extra mile to ensure a seamless and efficient experience in South Africa. With our unwavering commitment to excellence and improved technology, we handle your cargo with utmost care and deliver it on time, every time. Our dedication to service excellence is what sets us apart. We live by our core values of service excellence, mutual respect, integrity, and accountability. When you choose Bid Air Cargo, you're choosing a partner that takes pride in going above and beyond for your freight needs. From pharmaceuticals to perishable goods, automotive parts to live animal transportation, we handle a diverse range of commodities. Our attention to detail and precision ensure that your cargo arrives in perfect condition, no matter what it is. Our dedicated teams work tirelessly to guarantee the safety and efficient transport of your cargo. We leave no stone unturned to ensure your freight arrives at its destination intact and on time. With our advanced track and trace system, you can monitor your shipments in real time. Stay informed about the whereabouts of your cargo with just a few clicks. Our goal is to provide you with peace of mind and complete transparency throughout the entire journey. We understand that time is of the essence for our valued customers. That's why we offer a user-friendly online portal that simplifies the documentation process. Obtain quotations and create e-labels with ease, saving you valuable time and effort. Whether you have a small package or a large shipment, Bid Air Cargo handles it all with equal care and precision. Our ISO certification is a testament to our commitment to quality and professionalism. We don't just excel in domestic express freight, we also cater to your international cargo needs. No matter the size of your business, whether you're a small enterprise or a multinational corporation, you can trust us to handle your cargo with the same level of dedication and attention to detail. Connect with us today and discover the difference our innovative technology, seamless tracking, and customer-oriented approach will make to your operation. Bid Air Cargo. Same-day express every day, overnight express every night.
Thank you, Bid Air Cargo, for your gold sponsorship. Ladies and there we go, Zutari, it's our consulting engineers, many years gold sponsor with the Transport Forum. They say impact engineer. Thank you very much, Zutari, previously known as Oricon, and they a keen sponsor of the Transport Forum. Thank you very much, Attaining. Ladies and gents, we've got Unitrans, the leading provider of integrated end-to-end supply chains and logistics services that make it happen for the customers by streaming operations and reducing complexities throughout the entire supply chain. Let's have a look at their great video.
Our continent continues to grow, and our industrial division is focused on connecting Africa to global markets. As our region evolves, so does our footprint across key trade passages and corridors, enabling new opportunities and growth. Unitrans is committed to fueling this growth by providing integrated warehousing and freight transport solutions. This capability has evolved across a number of customers, sectors, and countries, and continues to expand, seamlessly linking road freight, multimodal solutions, warehousing, secondary logistics, as well as freight forwarding and clearing activities. We are able to offer customers a full end-to-end solution that manages logistics needs in an efficient and cost-effective manner. With a strong focus on technology and partnerships, we continue to strengthen our approach as a managed logistics service that gets the job done.
Thank you, Unitrans, for your gold sponsorship. Ladies and gents, we've got JC Auditors. Oliver, I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Sure, Harry. Thanks very much for the opportunity. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, looking at the previous Unitrans video takes me back to 2006, where we first audited Unitrans up in Richards Bay. And essentially what we do is we audit clients for various certifications, and we offer both local standards like the RTMS, but also international certifications for various ISO standards. And part of our goal is to enable our clients to comply with global standards, both to derive internal benefit in the operations, but also to be able to compete in the global marketplace. We've been in this space for 20 years almost now. We've got 35 members of our team that cover all 9 provinces. Southern Africa, we've picked up a few clients in the US, in Europe as well. And we're very happy to talk to folk who want to know more about certifications and how these can be used as a tool, not just to reap business productivity gains, but also to leverage your business on the international front. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you very much, JC Auditors, for your great gold sponsorship. Really appreciate that. Oliver is also one of our presenters later on today, so we're looking forward to that. Ladies and gents, EasyClear is the leading software provider for the customs and clearing industry. Also a gold sponsor. Thank you very much, EasyClear, for your great gold sponsorship. We've got a Ticket Pro group. They've got actually 2 products with the Transport Forum. This one is the online booking tool, Ticket Pro Travel. You can see it's an online corporate traveling booking tool with everything you need and nothing you don't want. Thank you very much, Ticket Pro, for your gold sponsorship. So they also have got the Smart Tab solution, tap into the future, they say. So the Smart Tab system includes key features like comprehensive route management, flexible passenger payment methods, flexible route and fare product setup, shift and dispatch management, cashier system inspection tools, and comprehensive management information system reports. Thank you very much, Ticket Pro Smart Tab. So, ladies and gents, we've got Liesel de Wet, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the South Africa, this Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards. Thank you, Liesel.
Thank you, Harry, so much for this opportunity to just tell your audience a little bit about the awards. The Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards is now in its 3rd year, and we're really proud of the awards. The main focus of the awards is to showcase logistics excellence within Africa and South Africa. So, I often say people talk about best practice mainly being international supply chains, but I think our local supply chains, what they managed to achieve and overcome with the kind of challenges that we face as a continent is phenomenal. And we've seen some phenomenal case studies and really innovative thinking around how to address some of these challenges from Ivory Coast, Ghana, Mozambique, all around Africa. And it's really exciting. And we're going to be showcasing these awards and the winners in subsequent webinars and case studies moving forward. The event that we're hosting will be on the 24th of July, and we will be selling tickets. It's a great networking event. So I encourage you to go onto the website and have a look. And again, Harry, thank you so much for your support of this initiative. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Liesel. Looking forward to this great event. Thank you for sharing with us. Really appreciate that. Ladies and gents, last but not least, take note of this.
Smart Mobility Africa 2023 is done and dusted. We'll see you next year, 1st to the 3rd of October. As always, Smart Mobility Africa Summit 2024, here we come.
Thank you, Smart Mobility Summit. Ladies and gents, now for the fun, the quiz. As I promised you, I'm going to ask 2 questions, and then the person who answers the question right in the chat room, the first one, he or she will be the winner of the prize. And just to refresh your mind, there's all the sponsors and associates. So the first question, and I need to keep your hand on the chat room. Right. So the first question, which company's got the slogan, "Unlock the future of connected bus and truck mobility"? Unlock the future of connected bus and truck mobility. I also said they're the masters of artificial intelligence. And they recently joined the Transport Forum as gold sponsor. Can everybody be so stunned? Right, ladies and gents, let me see. We've got a winner here. And it seems to me it's Nadaba Makwala. Congratulations, it's actually Go Metro. So congratulations, we will be in contact with you, playing your delivery address for your price. Congratulations for winning that one. All right, ladies and gents, the next question. There's a company who's got the slogan, Certification, Compliance, One Solution. Who are they? There we go, Jaco Albert Bakker, JC Auditors. Yes, you're close enough. Jaco Bakker, congratulations. Let me just making notes here. Congratulations. That is actually JC Auditors, Certification, Compliance, One Solution. Thank you very much. Ladies and gents, yes, let's give a hand to our great sponsors for this Transport Forum. We really appreciate your kind of support and making this possible. So just a quick reminder, ladies and gents, we've got the Transport Forum's business directory. It's only 450 rands per year to have your company listed in this directory. And we've got very good feedback, and it's outsourced to Olga's company, Bolling Bondley Consultant. You can take note of her telephone number there, and she will be able to help you to get your company listed in our business directory. You will also receive an email from myself afterwards, obtaining your feedback or requesting your feedback, and Olga, the information will be in there as well. So thank you, Olga, for administrating this for us. Transport Forum websites where you can get all the presentations downloaded, ladies and gents. To access the presentations, to the left of the screen when you're on that website, you need to log in. If you haven't got to sign up yet, then you go to sign up at the bottom of the user menu, sign up, and you create your own username and password. And then you can go to the home page, you select the events, go to downloads, and that should give you a very powerful but simple search engine. Two ways you can search. The top field is you can type in a title or a description in the top field and hit search, and it will bring you up all the presentations related to that presented over the past 17 years, more than 900 presentations. Or you can go to category and you select the day's date and hit search, and it will bring up all the presentations presented on that day. So that's great, and also all sponsored by the sponsors with the Transport Forum. Now we're back to our great program, ladies and gents, Attaining Cargo Throughput. I would like to hand you over now to our host, Mr. Devlin Naidu. He's the Executive SAAFF and OGA's, Southern African Association of Freight Forwarders. He's going to talk about creating efficiencies through international best practices. That's building a relationship between private and public sector stakeholders. Thank you very much, Devlin.
Thank you very much, Harry. The timing is impeccable, and we appreciate the excellent work that Transport Forum is doing. I will share my screen, and you can just get confirmation from you, Harry, that it is visible. I'll put it onto presentation mode shortly.
It is visible? Yes, just slide view.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll move it to presentation mode shortly.
Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, very good morning to the organizers and also fellow hosts, fellow sponsors rather, and thank you for the opportunity once more to engage this morning. We look forward to an impactful discussion, and obviously remain available to take questions thereafter. I must disclaim that the slides prepared today is the intellect of our CEO, Dr. Unita Maria, who is currently in Geneva, Switzerland, attending a conference there. But coincidentally, on that note of international best practices, and in alignment with today's theme of attaining cargo throughput, I think a critical consideration is that infrastructure is one aspect, and there's also the process that is another aspect. And we need to cut through all of the red tape and ensure that there's minimal bureaucracy in terms of processes. But if we look at the building blocks, or the first step is to establish a roadmap, which we are pleased to advise. I think this is a sign of a step toward attaining cargo throughput, whereby the public and private sector collaborated together under a government structure, the National Logistics Crisis Committee. We need to know where we are, and I think we all know where we are. We are in a crisis, but it's not all doom and gloom. There is hope for the future, and I think at the back of one of the earlier videos in terms of the state of the economy, the real economy, we're really going to explore the impact that these vertical industries have on the economy, and of course the efficiency of the logistics network in order to attain cargo throughput. So we understand that infrastructure, as mentioned, is a critical component, but it's also the process and procedures that must be followed to support the efficiencies in terms of infrastructure gains, and we'll discuss that momentarily. But if we look at the trade landscape in South Africa, this is the latest trade data published by SAAFF. Please note that this data is based on the customs value. So in other words, the actual financial proceeds in and out of the Republic. And I think on a positive note, the trade surplus of 14,042,916,266 rand is indeed something to celebrate. And I think it was a year-on-year growth there as well. And we've obviously exported more than we've imported. We've exported a lot of our raw materials and raw minerals, but our largest export partner for the month of February is China, and in fifth place, the United Kingdom. But what does this mean for us? We must understand that if we do not have an efficient logistics network in South Africa, it is going to deter both imports and exports. And one may argue that we definitely need more exports to have a positive surplus, and we agree with that point. But at the same time, there are certain commodities where we don't have the competitive advantage, and for that reason, cannot produce locally at this point in time. So we obviously import the product, but the National Treasury still benefits in terms of the duties and taxes that are collected on their behalf by the administration agency in South Africa, which is SARS. So if we look at the attainment of cargo throughput, and I think it's important for us to look at a few critical sectors. Let's start with the automotive sector. I think that's a key sector in South Africa. We know the APDP initiative that was launched by the DTIC to stimulate manufacturing. We've got the likes of VW and Mercedes-Benz in the Eastern Cape. We've got the Roslyn plant here in Pretoria for BMW, and then you've also got the Ford plant that is actively involved in assembly and manufacturing. And one would understand if we do have inefficiencies in the port environment, we've got 9 ports in South Africa, 8 of which are commercial, then we impact production lines. But as mentioned, we need to look at the processes with SARS and other government agencies as also a complement to the hard infrastructure. And when you have processes that are reliable, predictable, and transparent, you have a supply chain that is efficient and predictable. And this is what we need to work toward in attaining cargo, improvements in cargo throughput. If we look at our main import movements, and I think if I just want to touch on this again, if you look at the agricultural sector as well, a key sector in South Africa, and just closely behind the automotive, 12,281 million, a gain of 34%, but still 98% is where the automotive sector currently sits. And then, of course, you've got precious metals and stones and mineral products, as mentioned. That is our key driver in terms of cargo movement on the export side. And on the import side, of course, for the customs experts in the room, we've got a lot of the Chapter 84 and 85 machinery and electronics, mineral products as well coming in. And then, of course, imports of completed vehicles that aren't produced locally. So having said that, we've got a unique location in Africa, on the African continent, in that we are largely feeding into the north-south corridor in terms of the flow of cargo through Zambia, through Zimbabwe, Zambia, into the DRC, and then, of course, supporting also the west, Namibia, and the east, Mozambique. And we have a relatively, or I would say comparatively efficient road network. But as mentioned earlier on, Harry, we need to focus on an efficient rail network. And I think that's covered on in the latest slides in today's presentation. But ideally, you've got the coal line that feeds into the port of Richards Bay. Then you've got multi-purpose, predominantly containers at DCT, and to a lesser extent, comparatively, Pier 1 or New Pier. You've got also containerized cargo. Then you've got your multi-purpose maiden wharf in Durban. Then you've got the automotive sector that's serviced by East London, Ngqura, and Port Elizabeth. And then, of course, you've got the wine perishable industry largely serviced out of Cape Town. And then you've got the iron ore line from Sishen into Saldanha Bay. So we've got a very rich country. We've got a very bright future. And UNITA often reminds us that it's all about SA Inc. So we look at the country as a supply chain. And she often reminds us that it's not supply chains necessarily or countries that compete. It's the supply chains that compete. So each of us in today's forum, irrespective of the role that we are in, all have a part to play in building the logistics network. And we do that by looking at leveraging public-private sector partnerships. I'm sure many of you have been following the media releases regarding the ICTSI takeover and the challenge that was brought upon by Maersk in that regard. It is obviously in the public domain. But this is taken from H.W. Ipman 2017, where he looks at international best practices and what can be done. And he's identified 7 key components. Now, you might ask a question, okay, how does this link to the infrastructure? And how does it link to process efficiency and cargo throughput gain? And simply put, is we need to establish the building blocks first. One of which I think is quite prominent and has been since last year, which was the National Logistics Crisis Committee. But obviously, we cannot stay in a crisis forever. So you cannot have a crisis committee. There has to be something that succeeds the crisis committee to ensure that we don't find ourselves in a crisis in the short, medium to long term and beyond. So the guidelines that is provided, and I think a large part of this, Liesl, you touched on it earlier as well, is in fact adopted here in South Africa. But it's about picking your partner carefully. It's about exercising due diligence. It's about identifying holistically the fit for purpose. South Africa is we have a very unique environment. We have under the NEDLAC forum, you've got convergence of government, community, labor, and business. And so South Africa, obviously, the labor market is very protected. And hence, I think that is one of the critical considerations when picking the partner, right? So it's not always the lowest price. It's fit for purpose. Who adds the most value to this? It's clearly defined revenue stream. I think this is important. And this is where a lot of the partnerships between the public and private sector role players can not gain traction or move forward. And of course, revenue is a critical component in that regard. Stakeholder support. And I think this Transport Forum, again, is an excellent platform. You've got a plethora of ideas that converge on a monthly basis. And you have multiple stakeholders from both the public and private sector that converge. And this is important, where you get the support from stakeholders, you canvas upfront, and you are proactive as opposed to reactive. And so that ensures that the partnership between the public and private sector supports the attainment of cargo throughput, because ultimately this partnership yields the desired outcome of improved infrastructure, improved maintenance, improved process efficiencies, all contributing to today's theme and ultimately stimulating the economy of our country as well. Obviously, a detailed contract is important, so you dot the I's and cross the T's and ensure that all the legal provisions have been considered. Proper statutory environment is important as well, which I think South Africa is amongst the best in the world in terms of our constitution, in terms of our governance. We look at the King Code, all emanating from our beautiful country. So that again is leveraging of practices that are born in South Africa, or born in Africa, that the rest of the world can also look to. Obviously, we need the buy-in in terms of a public sector champion. Sorry about that, colleagues. And so, a well-informed, well-recognized public figure that should serve, and then likewise a similar counterpart in the private sector as the champion or captain of industry to drive this. And we do have many to look up to, one of which, if I'm not being biased, serves as our CEO. And then obviously you need a public sector structure that's organized. Okay, so these are the 7 principles for the best practice partnership, best practice for international partnerships. If we look at the cargo volumes currently in South Africa, there are an estimate 12,000 TEUs that traverse the landscape, the length and breadth of our country on a daily basis. If you look at, and that's obviously on the containerized front. Then if you look at the bulk side of it, you've got 159,000 odd tons per day of coal that's exported to the coal line. And that is where rail becomes a critical component. We know the N3, the feed between Durban and the Interland, as well as the N2, that feeds into Richards Bay is overburdened with trucks on the road. So this is where we need the efficiency in terms of rail to support the fluidity of the terminal and also to support cargo throughput. Again, we also have the feed into Cape Town, as mentioned, that's more on your citrus, your perishable, your automotive is PE and Kura. And then, of course, Port of Durban is your ninth largest in Africa, ninth largest in the world and the busiest in Africa. And then, of course, we feed and support via the N4 a lot of the export into Mozambique, but there's not a lot of imports coming down. And I think if memory serves me correctly, there's about 1,612 trucks on the export direction. And then it's about 1,821 coming down, but it's largely empty. So just the trucks returning to South Africa. So the National Logistics Crisis Committee, I think, is something that we as private sector representatives, as well as members of the public sector, can be proud of in terms of supporting the attainment of cargo throughput. As we speak, there has been, and I think UNITA shared an update yesterday, 20 haulers that were deployed to the port of Durban, or will be deployed within coming month, and ultimately within the next 18 months. The OEMs, we understand, and we spoke about bureaucracy earlier, there are many layers, obviously, at the back of state capture that one needs to go through in order to facilitate the procurement of equipment into the different structures. And having said that, though, this is where the consultation from private sector becomes critical. I'm reminded of a quote that our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa mentioned in the State of the Nation address in 2021, where he says that governments not create jobs, businesses create jobs, but government creates the conditions for business to create those jobs. And I think in terms of the logistics network, the conditions need to be there, the hard infrastructure needs to be there, and of course the processes need to be there to ensure the servicing and maintenance of the equipment is running on a 24/7 basis. And I think this speaks to, again, performance improvement. One of the work streams, one of 8 work streams in the NLCC, the other being road transport, followed by passenger rail, structural reform, which is a critical component, also dovetailing with the international best practices referred by Hitman in 2017. Look at the procurement structures. I think we just touched on it now in terms of the additional layers that you have to go through. So one may say, okay, we are beginning to see signs of progress. I think there's stabilization. Are we at the ideal state in terms of the design capacity versus demonstrated capacity? I believe that there is way, and I think you would agree, there's still a way to get there, but we've got a roadmap that takes us there. So we remain optimistic, and we believe that there is a light in sight, and that light gets brighter each day as we get closer to the objective or the target of attaining cargo throughput through these efficiency gains. Of course, security and financing becomes a critical component, and communication, which is keeping both public and private sector stakeholders appraised of the developments, enforcing accountability in that regard. I'm not going to go through the slide in detail, but I know that Harry will upload the presentation and you're at liberty to interrogate this further, but it's just basically that the president, I think that is very historic and momentous, chairs this. The presidency chairs the NLCC, and then you've got various streams under the B4SA and BUSA banner that feed into the structure. We've got multiple stakeholders in the public and private sector, as mentioned, and I think it speaks very nicely to the role that the convergent plays in attaining cargo throughput in terms of the roles and responsibilities. And I think, you need to often remind yourself an accountability cadence. There has to be accountability. Success rises and falls in leadership. And if you have leaders who are accountable, you will have results because there's a sense of purpose and there's a sense of commonality in that we all serve SA Inc., irrespective of race, irrespective of beliefs, irrespective of gender, irrespective of whatever sort of perceived division there is a united front in that we all are citizens of SA Inc. and we all serve SA Inc. And every action in our day-to-day must speak the love that we have for South Africa. Looking at the micro and the macroeconomic factors, of course, there's a lot of geopolitical tensions. And again, I think this public and private partnership at this time becomes critical in that we work toward a common objective for the benefit of socioeconomic growth and development. But if you look at the inverted apex, logistics is a key driver. So yes, you've got supply chain, which is the inventory planning, the demand push and pull, resource allocation, etc. But if you don't have an efficient distribution, and that's the logistics network, it sits at the core or the heart of this, we are unable to move the needle. Of course, we've looked at the multimodal approach. We know that sea, in terms of service reliability, is the safest mode of transport, obviously over a period of time. It's the most economical. And of course, over 90% of international trade is conveyed by containerized sea freight. And then, of course, if you look at the other modes of transport, we have intermodalism with road freight. That's the door-to-door deliveries. You've got air freight for your just-in-time cargo and service reliability, as well as for some specific commodities. And I think it's important that when we look at structural reform and when we look at the logistics network, that it's not just a ocean modality focus or an air modality focus, but very much a multimodal focus as well. And then, as mentioned, supply chains are predicated on three aspects, which is time, cost, and service reliability. And this is the three main influences that underpin if you reverse engineer the process, that underpin the fundamental deployments that are made to enhance the logistics network. Again, I think I'm mindful of time. I'll wrap up in 2 minutes from now. But this is a multi-layer. There's 4 layers here, multi-layer approach to viewing the supply chain. Right? You've got the origin and you've got the destination, but you've got international organizations in terms of process. Largely in South Africa, if we look at our valuation, classification, and origin in terms of customs, who administer the collection of duties and taxes, working closely with ITAC on import and export control, you could have the inefficiency perhaps currently at the port, which is being improved, but you don't want that inefficiency to be further compounded by delays with customs or other government agency processes. And a large part of SARS, being a member of the WCO, if you look at our policies in South Africa, you look at the Customs Act, it's verbatim in terms of the WCO guidelines on origin valuation, the WTO general agreements on tariffs and trade. So we look at it comes from, it's always easier to co-create and to pre-manifest compliance than it is to reactively attempt to correct non-compliance. So it's always that compliance begins at the purchase order stage in the supply chain, not when the cargo arrives. And I think that's a critical component in terms of attaining cargo throughput, is that you proactively create compliance so that even before the cargo is loaded, you've got all of the regulatory permits in terms of Section 11380 of the Customs Act, have that in place to support the attainment of cargo throughput, and of course, impacting the trade statistics shared earlier. If we look at our performance as we come to the conclusion of the presentation, this is just an overview, and just acknowledge our recent PhD graduate, Dr. van Rensburg, for his work here in these stats. But I think it's important to look at the performance and look at the month-on-month improvements as we track the deployment and monitor and evaluate the deployment of additional equipment under the rapid response study that's done in conjunction with Transnet and the University of Pretoria. But of course, South Africa had a major decrease. We hope that when we have a session again, SAAFF is presenting perhaps sometime around next year, a year from now, we see this red turn to blue for South Africa, in that there's a major increase in terms of productivity on the liner front. But this is just in terms of internationally. South Africa is here at the bottom of the graph. We hope that can change as well, based on the initiatives done in conjunction with public and private sector. I referenced the 100-day DCT rapid response. It's providing phenomenal insights in terms of procurement, in terms of maintenance schedules, and in terms of the linkage between operations and execution. So that speaks to stabilization. So the future is looking promising. Of course, you need to remind us of the network statement. And that in itself, I think, links very closely to the ultimate aim or desired outcome of the logistics network in South Africa. And we look at, as mentioned, the PSP model between public and private sector. It does require a certain level of maturity and a certain level of commitment on both sides. This is where we are, and this is what the actions are. So once you identify or you pinpoint the root cause, you can accurately identify a solution that speaks to that. And there are solutions, as you see, that are being deployed. Amongst them, short-term initiatives in terms of supporting the mineral exports. Structural reforms is more long-term, but government is driving private sector participation, and of course, turning around the financial performance of transit in so doing. And private sector, all of us from private sector have a key role to play in mobilizing funding and providing expertise. We cannot blame and shame. We cannot continue to say there's a crisis and we continue to complain, but we do nothing about it. We need to step up and any small action that you make, even in your day-to-day, contributes to that end objective. Okay, so I think it's a collaborative journey. I touched on the NLCC, striving collaboration, securing expertise, mobilizing resources, and enabling reforms. Yes, there's a challenge, but to every challenge, there's a solution. And efficiencies, the word "in" will come out, and from inefficiencies, we've got efficiencies. And I think there's a lot of work that is being done in that regard. The next few slides, I'll just summarize. It speaks to the rail network in terms of the current and future outlook. Transnet published a document in 2016. And Professor Jan Havenga always speaks about rail reform and structural reform in terms of rail network. We look at the Natal corridor, we look at the Balcon, and we look at the other feeds into the interland from the coastline. It's imperative and that we look at scientific data. Without data, we're just a person with an opinion. And I think data will inform a lot of what we need to look at. We want to avoid monopolization. It has to be more concession, open access, JV, and private ownership. And this is, of course, an analysis of each of those models that one would follow. But we need to create a cadence of accountability and enforce accountability at a leadership level. And remember, it filters down from leadership down to the execution. Look at the equipment, look at maintenance, 24/7, management and servicing. Look at the water side in terms of the ocean modality, the water side, the marine side, and the land side. And look at what we've been designed to handle, right, versus what we're currently handling. And then do the gap analysis and close the gaps in that regard, and continue to monitor and evaluate so that we maintain the productivity. I think one thing to note is the Newland Port facility, 3.4 billion rand upgrade. I think it was a nice convergence with public and private sector. And we see that it is yielding the desired outcome in terms of attaining cargo throughput. I think there was a key tenant as well that reinstated their business as a result of the facility there as well. And then the next few slides talk to where we are and how do we get there. It's right, very much a roadmap between 2016 and 2046. And you can see that ultimately, when you have more capacity and lines that carry an increased capacity, you have an attainment of cargo throughput. On that note, Harry, I do apologize for running over time, but there was just so much of wisdom that Dr. Maria put into these slides, and I tried my very best to deliver it in a manner that she would hopefully be proud of, but I'm sure she'll watch the session later on this afternoon. In closing, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, the best way to create the future, or the best way to predict the future, is to create it. Thank you very much, Harry.
Thank you so much, Devlin, for this great presentation, giving a great summary of our imports and exports and the importance of the efficacy of our rail network, the best practices for public-private sector partnerships. And it's great to see the alignment between the 8 NLCC work streams, the joint progress being made there. Thank you for sharing that. That's quite encouraging. And understanding the players in the supply chain, and you've done it very well. Thank you very much, Devlin. Really appreciate it. I'm quite sure they'll have some questions for you during the panel discussion. Thank you, Devlin. All right, ladies and gents, from the great presentation to the next one, let's look at our program quickly. So next presenters, so Mr. Miles Donnelly and Mr. Jacob Bakker. They're from ICE Technology, ICE Technology. They're going to give us a case study, the Bay Bridge Zimbabwe Border Modernization Project, successfully improving throughput at the border post. Thank you very much, Miles. Looking forward to this.
Great. Thanks, Harry. And we really are humbled by the invite to do the talk from yourself and the Transport Forum. So we're very excited to talk about how we're involved as a key piece of the puzzle on how we modernize the land border. I think as our previous colleague had explained, Devlin, there's many factors to it. There's public, there's private sectors that need to get involved. So there's many pieces to the puzzle. So I think for me, I will now present, we will do a short presentation, and at the end we'll show a video of the new border post, and hopefully we can see how digitization can help move freight along the corridors. Go. Right, so just a background to IceTech. So IceTech is a software development company. We specialize in transport systems in Africa. And our goal is to ultimately improve citizens' experience in the movement and quality of the transport sector. So just a brief background, we have over 30 projects live, predominantly in the Southern and East Africa region of the continent. And we specialize, as I say, in the transport information systems, border systems, tolling, enforcement, billing, and national parks. So wherever there's a vehicle involved, our goal is to help the movement of people and vehicles. So a basic overview of the Beitbridge modernization project. As we all know, Beitbridge was not exactly the best place to transport goods through, but it is one of the busiest and strategically important border crossings in Africa. It is a primary gateway between Zimbabwe and South Africa, facilitating trade in the SADC region, vital transport network handling diverse range of goods. And it's part of the north-south corridor stretching all the way from Durban right up to Tanzania and Dar es Salaam, and facilitates trade between the Southern and East African region. So, big problem that was encountered, as we know in the past, the average wait time of freight vehicles was 72 hours, sometimes more, depending on whatever issues might be. There's a lot of corrupt practices taking place at the border post because of manual, paper-based, and poor infrastructure. We had informal agents which would take advantage of that, and of course drivers. And very importantly, health and safety of drivers was dire. You can imagine that truck drivers having to try and live in their truck for days without, good ablution facilities and food, access to water. All of those things were a dire situation. And then from a government perspective, GDP and revenue for government takes a big knock. So, of course, both countries take an impact due to the slow movement of the goods and various other factors that impact the goods and low compliance levels. Paper-based, manual, people manage to get their way through the border without being fully compliant, which creates other issues. So this brought about the Beitbridge Modernization Project, which is a consortium that was established with the Zimborders Consortium. And this was, again, public-private partnership, which is very important to try and get these infrastructure projects up and going. From our perspective, we're the ICT player. We assisted with supplying the system to automate flow of vehicle and traffic and data between government agencies. And of course, there's big infrastructure, which Robex Construction rebuilt the Beitbridge border post. As you can see in the image, it wasn't a very nice place to be for freight forwarders, and trucks would lie at that site for very long. And then, of course, the government of Zimbabwe is part of the consortium. So you've got the public and the private aspect to ensure the success of this modernization. From that, the upgrade of the physical site, as people might have seen, it is now a drastically bigger site, and it caters for 3 major traffic flows. It makes sure that freight traffic has got their own route to get through the border post, bus and passenger vehicles. Those are all separated because of the different procedures and processes that take place. So that is one element to already improve and alleviate the flow of traffic. And there's an after picture of the new border site, which really is a phenomenal border post now after the upgrade. Excuse me. And I'm now going to have Tiaku, which will then talk through a bit of the detail around the project, as he was quite intricate in the detail of implementing this ICT upgrade. And just remember, we'll have a video at the end, which will summarize this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Can everyone see the shared screen? Just making sure.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Miles, for the introduction of the Beitbridge project. I'll deep dive a bit more into the ICT side of the implementation, which IceTech implemented at this Beitbridge modernization on the Zimbabwean side. So I'll give an overview of this ICE border system. I'll give you a quick crash course in the processes which we digitized with this ICE border system. And then the outcome after the completion of this modernization, obviously a concession project, not only the ICT side, but also the upgrading of the facilities and so forth, which was mentioned. And then we'll share the video. So the ICE border system had to align with the new site layout. So we're working hand in hand with the people that were constructing the site, with the architects, making sure our systems ties in with the layout of the site. The ICE borders, as we call the product that we delivered for them, doesn't only entail to software, but it was also a hardware part where we upgraded infrastructure such as automatic number plate recognition cameras, automatic vehicle classification cameras and systems, big LED screens in the parking areas to call out vehicles. Also the upgrading of the network on the site, and hardware such as data centers. So we included the production data center there, a disaster recovery data center for redundancy, a fiber ring, your Wi-Fi failovers, and multiple service providers to make sure that the system stays up. Then a part of it was also a border traffic flow system and a queuing system to talk to the hardware on the ground and make sure vehicles flow to where they need to flow. Tracking the process of the vehicles from entry to all of the processes for immigration, customs, and throughout the site, throughout various control points. And then obviously the integration between the various border agencies that are relevant at the border post. So the ICE border system therefore aimed to manage activity and legal processes on the border through involved agencies and assist the traffic flow of vehicles traversing through the border. The key capabilities of the system is catering for multiple payment types, such as card, cash, vouchers, also an online portal where people can log on and be paid beforehand for the Zim Borders fee, which was part of the concession fee. Another key capability is border compliance checks. So managing where vehicles flow on the ground based on agency approvals that's fed into the system, the centralized system. Systemized access control and queuing equipment and systems, all controlled through cameras as well as a QR technology. Key features of this ICE border system: facilitating valid border passage, controlled by a vehicle identification. So at entry, a vehicle is identified. I'll take you through that process. They're giving a QR code, which is used through the border. Smart control rooms with automated access through license plate recognition cameras, or a QR scanner as a failover. And it also gives the transparency of processes to the driver as well as to government agencies, where everything's fed into a centralized system and they can see on the system which process was completed and which still needs to be completed. So we were able to achieve the automation of access control on the site through having a centralized system integrated between the various agencies. Okay, where agencies didn't have a system, we supplied them with this platform through also giving them either a mobile device for people that does inspections on the ground, or a PC for the people that sits in a building that can directly feed into the centralized system. So allow me to take you through a quick crash course on the process which we automated at the Beitbridge border in Zimbabwe through the system. On a high level, the border process entails of an entry, your immigrations, customs processes, inspections if required, if you were referred to a veterinary or a plant quarantine or any other inspection, and payment of the border fees and a border exit. So we set out with this project, with the hardware that we've given and the systems, to digitize these processes. So all outcomes are captured on a centralized system that will help management and the flow through the border. Okay, so starting at the first point, border entry. This is where the system has a vehicle, what we call the vehicle identification module, based on modern technologies such as automated vehicle classification, as well as automatic number plate recognition cameras. This creates a vehicle identity at the entry, and it serves the driver with a unique QR code. So as the vehicle approaches the border, we capture the vehicle class through our camera-based vehicle classification system. As he enters the entry gate, his number plate is captured, and all of this information is displayed on the entry operator's dashboard. He verifies that the information is correct, classes the vehicle, and they are then processed with a unique QR coupon or entry coupon, which has the information of the vehicle registration number, the vehicle class, and if required, also the passport scan of the driver of the vehicle. So this QR coupon is then used throughout the border process further on. This is just an example of the screen of the operator, which our software displays through a license plate capturing camera on the screen, which also automatically populates the registration number, which the user then just verifies. It captures a screenshot of the vehicle at entry just for auditing purposes. And the person in the gatehouse will, on his own behalf, class the vehicle. Our automatic vehicle classification serves as an audit. So when there's any discrepancies, the operator won't know what the vehicle classification system classifies at. If there's discrepancies, then it's flagged. Just basically a security measure where operators can class lower and they take a part of the money paid for himself. So we have those measures in place. Our automatic vehicle classification, like I mentioned, it is done through a camera classification. We implemented this specific classification model because there was issues with the classification model that is installed in the roadside, which normally captures your actual widths and actual lengths. In Africa, there's no standard for a truck. Trucks get imported from China. There's all different kinds of trucks. So classifying only based on the axles, we had issues with. We set out to build a model that captures the amount of axles, but also captures the shape of the vehicle, and flew through machine learning. We feed the system images, and he learns based on those images. The advantage is that if the new class is added, it can be learned to the system and it can be added onto that. Okay, so the key outcome of the system is based on a principle of a green lane for compliant vehicles, a yellow lane for suspect vehicles, and a red lane for non-compliant or untrusted vehicles. And the capability to automate the flow of these vehicles to the different routes based on their status. So after that entry process, keep in mind then that we want to try and manage these vehicles automatically to the routes they want to go to. A vehicle would park, they would go to the terminal, take with their QR coded coupon, go to the various agencies. In the terminal, the QR code is used to go to the agencies, do the required approvals. They scan the QR code, the vehicle information populates on their system. They feed their input into the system. either if it's referring them to an inspection or just approving them for border exit at customs, immigrations, and so forth. And that's the in-terminal process where someone would then go out of the terminal if there was any inspections that was flagged. This then gets done on a mobile device that's also catered for to the agencies doing inspections with an inspection application based on their requirements and their inputs. So they can also on that device scan the QR code. It will populate the vehicle's information. It will even populate the agencies where it has already been approved or still requires to be approved. The driver can also see that information by scanning his ticket in the building at the information screen, and it will show him immigration's been approved, customs been approved, he's been flagged for example, a veterinary inspection, which still needs approval before he can exit the parking. Okay. The next process is a vehicle being called out on a big call-out screen we have in the parking, and then accessing through a boom access or a control point out of the parking. Now, these hardware are integrated into the system. A vehicle is only called out in the screen if the system picks up that all the processes that it needs to comply with to move further on in the border has been completed. He's then called out on the screen so that the driver can see he can proceed. It's transparent. All of his processes are done. It's not a guessing game like in the past. If all his processes are now completed or not, it is visible for him. And only if everything is then completed, he'll go to the exit gate, where that gate will then pick up his number plate, pull the information from the system and guide him. If he was flagged for a scan, it will automatically open the boom to go to the scan, or bypass to the green lane, or go to a warehouse. So this just showing the call-out screens we have there. If all your processes are completed, it pulls you up. You move to the gate, it picks you up automatically and guides you on your route. After this process is the border exit, which is the last process in the digitized process. And this is basically to pick up that the vehicle has now left the border post. So part of the real value of the system is the statistics that it can give to border management. And this will typically tell you when a vehicle has entered the border post, when he has done his immigration, when he's done his customs, when he's cleared out of a warehouse, when he's exited the parking, and finally when he's exited the border post. So this gives us insight, and you can track a vehicle through the whole process on the centralized system. Okay, so that is a nutshell the process that was automized. What we give with our turnkey solution is also a master control room where border management would sit, where they could give them live statistics of the vehicles, of the trucks, of where there is possible bottlenecks or queues, so that they can react to it immediately. Also, this is where they will do monitoring of the system. If any hardware failure or any system failure, they can immediately respond to keep the flow of the vehicles, to get the vehicles out of the border as quickly as possible, and to optimize the throughput. Also, a part is that this system, with the statistics that it gets into the centralized system, reports can go out to border management. So hourly, daily, monthly reports goes out to border management on vehicles entering, vehicles exiting. It goes down to the level of the user, that they can see this is the person that processed a vehicle at this day, at this time. if any issues would arise, they can go back and they can manage it by that measure and security. They can also track, are we putting through the vehicles that we must? Where was the bottleneck that people spent most time in the scanner or in the parking or at the warehouse? So then we get to the outcome. After the modernization of the project, with this concession, a few of the realizations and positive outcomes, to name a few. One, the time reduction. That was a massive difference, where trucks previously, where all the system was manual, it was not automated. It was a process of people writing on paper-based systems and guiding the vehicles as they feel, as a person at the gate feels. So the waiting time for a freight vehicle went down from 2 to 3 days to 3 hours. So that's a great improvement we saw in throughput time. Also, other outcomes of this is enhanced visibility because of the availability of data, which never was there in the past. Enhanced compliance because of the systemized control access points. So people can't just bribe a guy at the gate to go out. And it also, they can see where the bottlenecks are and push people through. And, you know, all of the data that comes with this product is very advantageous to border management and the throughput of vehicles. Accelerated inspections because of information that's now available on previous outcomes of a vehicle's inspection, as well as giving them automated inspection tools. Just a fun statistic from the start of the implementation of the system in 2021, 3.5 million tolling transactions has gone through the system. That's entries. 30 million integration transactions. That is integrations between the system and hardware such as cameras, boom gates, and so forth on the site. Close to 100% of increased vehicle compliance because of the added security. 2,300% improvement in vehicle waiting times, which is the 3 days to 3 hours. So to conclude, just to let it sink in how the border post was before, it was basically a dirt track road. They would do manually offload all of the vehicles. The facilities in terminal was the same terminal used for trucks, buses, and light vehicles. And after this project, it is an optimized site. It is user-friendly. It is not as cramped in the facilities, and it's just a much more pleasant experience for drivers alike and people going through the border post. Then in conclusion, I want to play a short 5-minute video, and that will take you on an overview of the project, and that will be our part. Thank you.
Congestion and extended wait times at border posts have long been frustrating and inconvenient for travelers in Africa. Poorly managed borders can compromise national security and result in significant revenue loss for governments. Working in collaboration with the Zimbabwean government and Zim Borders Consortium, IceTag set out to revolutionize the border crossing experience by designing and implementing a bespoke turnkey software solution called Ice Borders to digitize, automate, secure, and streamline vehicle processing. Our holistic approach and configurable architecture automates all legal processes, facilitates traffic flow, increases revenue collection, and ensures efficient import and export procedures. Before implementation, the average time it took freight vehicles to pass through the Bay Bridge border was 3 days. ICE borders reduced this to just 3 hours. When a vehicle enters the border post, automatic number plate recognition cameras captures and displays accurate vehicle registration details on the ICE border system, where it is linked to the respective vehicle class, generating a QR-coded entry coupon. This QR code is the key to accessing subsequent border processes and allows vehicles to be tracked throughout the entire journey. ICE Borders uses automatic vehicle classification cameras and AI software that analyze photographic and video imagery similar to the human eye to accurately classify vehicles entering the border. This is used as a built-in accuracy measure to compare the class issued by the entry operator with the system's post-classification auditing. ICE Borders facilitates many payment types, including cash, local payment switches, credit cards, prepaid cards, and even vouchers. Seamless integration with all border systems and devices allows high transaction volumes to be processed quickly and efficiently. ICE Borders' ability to integrate with existing legacy systems, replace paper-based procedures, and interface between diverse government systems provides a significant advantage over other systems. This unique feature facilitates information sharing between countries and enables law enforcement agencies to collaborate in joint crime prevention, customs, and border security operations. Officials using mobile devices in the field can process inspections and clearances instantly. Completed processes are captured and stored electronically, improving compliance and eliminating the need for paper documentation. A queuing system with large call-out screens improves flow and minimizes traffic congestion in parking areas. Once a vehicle has received all relevant electronic approvals, their registration number and next process are displayed, authorizing them to proceed. ICE Borders integration with smart boom gate barriers is another unique feature. Our IntelliFlow system uses automatic number plate recognition cameras or QR ticket scanners as a failover to read the registration number and records of a vehicle and immediately verify the border approvals and referrals made by officials. It activates a red or green light to direct traffic, automatically opening the appropriate lane's smart boom, allowing the vehicle to proceed to either the border exit, X-ray scanner, search area, or weighbridge. The unique QR code permits a single exit at each access or validation point. An invalid passage or attempts to reuse the QR code will alert officials to potentially fraudulent activity. ICETech's state-of-the-art, future-proof technology provides secure hosting within a private government cloud environment. Redundancy measures includes a disaster recovery server, fibering, and Wi-Fi failover to guarantee uninterrupted service. Our intuitive self-service kiosks allow travelers to verify incomplete requirements to proceed through the border post, enhancing the border crossing experience. The ICE Border solution includes reporting and on-site management tools that enables prompt responses to service requests. The service desk provides system support, management software, and in-depth analytic business intelligence reporting tools. It generates operational reports, empowering border staff to avert blockages and facilitate traffic movements. Recognizing the critical role that border posts play in facilitating trade between countries, ICETech's innovative and adaptive e-government solutions have allowed governments to increase revenue and at the same time improve the lives of citizens across Africa, helping propel the continent into the 21st century and beyond. ICETech, unlock your potential.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Miles and Jaco. It was really a pleasure looking at this presentation. Nevertheless, the pleasure that the border post became. And it was great looking at the before and after scenarios for Bay Bridge. And thank you for sharing this with us. I see there's already been one question in the chat room for you guys, which you've answered. but I'm quite sure they'll have some questions in the panel discussion for you as well. So thank you very much for sharing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Harry.
Right, guys, let's take a short break for 10 minutes. And then we've got another great presentations by Oliver Nadu and Anna Balan. And so we'll see you in 10 minutes' time. I'll put up a timer for us. See you in 10 minutes' time. Grab a nice cup of coffee or something. Thanks a lot. We're still talking about attaining cargo throughput on the 25th of April 2024. We had great presentations already this morning. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have another 2 great presentations. The first one then now will be Mr. Oliver Naidu. He's the Managing Director of JC Auditors. They're also a gold sponsor of the Transport Forum. He's going to talk about building a national resource for road transport sustainability. Thank you very much, Oliver.
Thank you, Harry. Just going to quickly share my screen and then we'll get stuck in.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you can see that.
Yes, we can.
Great. Good morning, everybody. I think it's been a really interesting morning so far. I thoroughly enjoyed Devlin's presentation, where he spoke about using international standards and about the triple P mechanism to promote efficiencies. And I'll be building on that theme a little bit in talking about how can we use a national standard in helping the supply chain become more efficient and moving cargo through. And of course, Miles, I was quite excited to see the ICE project and how that is helping to promote freight transport in the corridors and across the border posts. So my presentation is, oh my word, what's happened here? Sorry. I need to go to the front. There we go. Okay. Harry, you can see my first screen, right?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. My apologies for that. I had the last screen on first. Anyways, so my chat is going to be not so much around the specifics around planning, the use of telematics and information systems on moving cargo. I'm going to be focusing on an absolutely critical component of cargo movement, and that is on the road networks. I think we often take for granted or we forget how vital the roads are to the economy. If the roads are poorly managed, it has a severely negative impact on the movement of goods. It results in inefficient logistics and ultimately affects our ability as a country to compete in the global marketplace. It's no secret that our supply chains in South Africa are not nearly as efficient as other economies that we compete against. And I think if we don't collectively involve all the stakeholders in addressing that, or at least putting in mitigating measures, it will continue to affect our economy due to inefficient supply chains. So just a quick factor too around our road networks. Many of us would be aware that we have some of the best roads, certainly in Africa, but comparable even globally. Our engineering sector, and especially the likes of SANRAL. I mean, I think we often complain about poorly performing SOEs, but I think SANRAL have done an excellent job of certainly maintaining our national roads in excellent condition. So roads are certainly one of any country's biggest investments. In South Africa, for example, according to the DOT, the replacement cost for roads would be around 2 trillion. So it's not cheap. It's a massive investment. And certainly, us as the transport sector needs to consider how do we preserve these national assets. And that'll be part of my discussion today in wanting us to be more aware of the need to preserve these assets. As I've mentioned, that shows the the national roads in our country, the N1, N2, N3, etc. And I think we all agree we are very fortunate to have such good national roads. Of course, sadly, some of our provincial and municipal roads are not or have not been adequately maintained. And herein lies some of the challenges that we face in the supply chains. But be that as it may, what we certainly need to do as the private sector and as stakeholders who have an interest in protecting is we need to see and look at what is the impact of our business on the road networks and how can we be more responsible and have better governance so we do our bit to preserve them. A big challenge, as we all are familiar with, is, and we only often are made more aware of it during Easter and December holidays, is our fatal crashes. It's absolutely a crisis, yet we become immune to the crisis that we all confronted with. The slide you're seeing in front of you is an extract from an RTMC report, the traffic police, and you can see the number of fatal crashes per province. I mean, in Gauteng, so I'll quickly get my pointer. In Gauteng, for example, I mean, it's 2,300 fatal crashes. And that means at least one person has lost their lives in the crash. And often we have multiple fatalities. KZN, no different. So colleagues, fatal crashes on our roads or any crash in our road networks makes the roads unavailable for freight movement and cargo. Let's ignore the social impact on people's lives. That's another discussion for another day, and we can talk long and hard about that. But crashes prevent cargo movement. It creates delays, congestion. It causes excess vehicle emissions and all negative impacts. So clearly, another slide to emphasize again that none of us are unaffected by road crashes and the fatalities. This is a slide from an OECD study, the Organization for Economic Development and Cooperation, I think. And here you can see the fatal crashes per 100 million kilometers traveled. We're at the top. And we often compete against some of these economies. So we clearly have a problem on our roads. Further photographs that remind us of what we see as a reality. This was in December last year, where we had 55 crashes in a single month in KZN. And from what we're told, the cost of crashes is approximately 3% of the total GDP of our country. Shocking, but sadly the reality. We've been involved for a number of years in an initiative by Fleetwatch magazine. Effectively, what happens here over 2 days, the initiative worked with the traffic police. The first day is spent training traffic officers on how to inspect heavy vehicles so that we can detect any defective tires, braking systems, and remove these vehicles from the road networks. The second day of the initiative looks at random pulling over certain vehicles, heavy vehicles, and inspecting them. And you can see from the inspections done, around, in total, 70% of vehicles have been found to be unsafe, purely in terms of brakes and tires. The next initiative is actually in May at the Pinetown Weighbridge in KZN on the 22nd and 23rd of May. And let's see what happens there. But clearly, statistics indicate that we need to do something as a private sector about the crash rates and the vehicles and as well the driving behaviors. We have a whole new dynamic, increasing risk levels on our roads, higher traffic volumes, and not a day goes by when we see the likes of these delivery services. And of course, these are all consumer driven. So you and I are creating the need for a Pick and Pay or a Checkers 6360 or a Woolworths to bring the goods to us. And of course, these higher volumes and very pressured environments does present the road networks with increasing risk. And often we tend to think, or the average road user tends to think, that the roads are somebody else's responsibility. And if we talk about the freight sector, we've got some significant disparities, which is a contributing factor to the problems we find. Large transporters, as you can see from that analogy, generally tend to have a good view of what's happening. They have good systems, resources, and often governance due to them might be because of them being a public listed company. So there is governance in place. SME transporters often have a reasonably good view, but the SME sector is often under-resourced and not adequately prepared to mitigate the risks. And here we need to do something about that. So we need to find a tool, and the tool I'm going to share now has been used very effectively, RTMS, to build capacity so that on our road networks, all the different transport operations have a relatively equal understanding of what needs to happen in order to promote safe and sustainable transport operations. So in asking you to consider a national resource, I'd like to put forward the possibility of using RTMS, the standard, which is a national standard, to promote safety, compliance, and efficiency within your operation. So if you're a consignor or a consignee, we'd like you to consider promoting this in your supply chain. Now, when I say promoting it, I don't mean insist on companies becoming certified, because it certainly wouldn't be realistic to expect that. But what I'd like to suggest is that the principles in the standard be communicated to your stakeholders, specifically transport operations, so they can implement the principles that make provision for more sustainable, safer, and compliant operations. And a key part of RTMS, or the requirement, is the need to minimize overloading. As I mentioned at the outset, and I think Miles spoke briefly as well, overloading prematurely damages the road networks. So controlling overloading and minimizing it helps to protect the roads. And we've seen over the last almost 20 years now, the positive impact of RTMS in forestry. So this slide measures all the trucks going into the timber mills, SAAFF, Mondi, NCT, and you can see clearly from the early days, there's a massive reduction in overloading. A very similar picture is presented in the sugar industry. Again, all the trucks going into the sugar mills. And again, you can see an exceptional reduction in overloading. And this also talks to SANROL's objectives. And of course, SANROL are a key stakeholder on the RTMS National Committee because it helps them manage their risks overall as well. In addition to the overloading controls for RTMS, there are a number of other benefits that have been seen. Some of these include improved vehicle service schedule, and this was reported by the City of Cape Town, who run a fleet in their electricity support services of around 800 vehicles, ranging from small buckies all the way up to an 8x6 heavy vehicle that does support for that division. Other benefits, such as improved fuel consumption, have also been reported, reduction in crash rates, improved driving behavior, etc. So over the last 15, 20 years now, the RTMS has certainly gained recognition as an asset and a tool that can be used to mitigate some of the crash rates that we've seen in the slides earlier. Now, what exactly does RTMS entail? What are we asking you to consider? We're asking you as a sector to consider promoting integrating rather safety into operations. So things like tire pressure monitoring, monitoring of mass or weight, monitoring of fuel consumption, driving behavior is absolutely critical. And of course, we're talking to a number of telematics companies, helping them incorporate some of the RTMS reporting requirements in their telematics offerings. So it's about not just having policies and procedures like what you see, but how does one, yes, develop the policies, but how do you integrate that so you make a meaningful and a defined impact on the road networks? Some of the requirements include vehicle maintenance. If a vehicle is not maintained adequately, it is a risk on our roads. So the RTMS looks at promoting a structured maintenance program that makes provision for compliance with the service intervals recommended by the OEMs, or if it's trading equipment, is it a time-based interval? Other key requirements would be tire management. Tires are a life-saving device. If they are not managed adequately, if the tires are underinflated, it's a massive safety risk. Not just that, if they're underinflated, it affects the truck's rolling resistance, which increases fuel consumption, again, causing inefficiency for the transporter, and those add-on costs are obviously passed onto the supply chain and makes us, in totality, more inefficient and less competitive due to the increased cost. Another simple example would be the need for pre-trip vehicle inspections. How consistently are these implemented? So these are just examples. I know I've got limited time, but these are just some examples of what the RTMS standard requires and how it can be used to build into our freight and commercial vehicle sector key elements that would help to ensure safety, compliance, and efficiency is prioritized. Another example, I think we all are familiar, globally, traveling at an unsafe speed contributes to road crashes. And here's an example of, during an RTMS audit, how we would assess, is the transporter complying with the requirements by looking at vehicle telematics. And of course, telematics plays a key role in helping a company demonstrate compliance with the requirements of the standard. Traffic infringements or offenses are a key requirement in the standard, so you cannot just get traffic fines and pay them and forget about it. It requires for there to be an analytical approach saying, what traffic fines have we incurred? What are causing these? How can we mitigate? How can we prevent habitual recurrence? And if these kind of bad behaviors go unresponded to, they lead to crashes. So if we respond to them when we encounter them, it makes our drivers less likely to have the crashes which are causing our problems. Okay, speaking about traffic infringements, I have to mention ARTO. We've actually had to get a new resource for ARTO because of the number of inquiries. Now, ARTO, from what we understand, and I'm sure you all would have heard, it is coming. The implementation has been suspended until ARTIA implements certain of the administrative requirements. But once ARTO, or the demerit system, has been promulgated and introduced, it poses a potential risk to the freight sector, actually not freight sector, but to all road users, but especially to the freight sector because of the higher risk exposure. And what the demerit point system require, well, essentially the purpose of ARTO, right, is to promote safe driving. It does that by penalizing bad behavior. So everybody starts on 0 points. And depending on the type of violation and the extent of the violation, one is issued with a demerit point and a rand value fine. So for each demerit, you'll accrue a certain number of points. And once a driver has exceeded 15 points, his or her license will be suspended for 3 months. Take note, if you're a commercial fleet, in addition to the driving license, your operator card may also be suspended if the vehicle is found to incur Section 49 traffic offences. So it's not just the drivers that may be affected, it's also trucks and fleet vehicles that may likely be suspended if we are non-compliant and continue with bad driving behavior and unsafe vehicles. So it's a massive threat, but it's a threat only if you're not compliant. If you're currently a compliant business, ARTO should not pose any kind of risk or apprehension. Okay, so I went through quickly, Harry, because the last 2 times I think I went over my time, so I was conscious. So in conclusion, we must build safety into supply chains if we are to be sustainable. And all those icons indicate key areas, colleagues, that we would like you to consider implementing within your operations or promoting so that we can collectively help to be safer, more compliant, and more efficient. Harry, do I have 3 more minutes to show that little animated video, or am I out of time?
You're welcome, Oliver.
Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to close with a short video, and Harry will take over thereafter.
RTMS is a national standard promoting safety, compliance, and efficiency in fleet operations. It promotes a framework in order to minimize crashes, ensure vehicle safety, promote safe driving behavior, and ultimately allow for an efficient supply chain, which is essential for economic growth and global competitiveness. Let's look at the 4 pillars of the RTMS standard. 1. Correct vehicle loading is essential, making sure that the mass and dimensions limits of the National Road Traffic Act are complied with. If a truck is overloaded, it not only damages our roads, but it is also a safety risk, as the vehicle braking and handling is compromised. Our roads are a national asset, so by preventing overloads, we preserve our roads and make them safer. So whatever you are loading, be it bulk or break bulk, make sure to load correctly and safely, taking care to distribute the load across all axles. The RTMS standard also requires safe load securement, so make sure that load is correctly and tightly secured to avoid dislodgement during transit. 2. Safety of vehicles. The second pillar of the RTMS is safety and safe operation of the vehicles. A structured preventative maintenance program is essential. This includes tire management and maintenance of the trailers. Of course, in addition to preventative maintenance, it is essential that pre-trip safety inspection is conducted daily. It is widely accepted that more than 80% of crashes are due to driver error, so managing driver behavior is a crucial requirement of the RTMS standard. One of the main causes of crashes is driving at unsafe speeds, so monitoring of driving speed is a key requirement of the RTMS. 3. Driver health and wellness. The third pillar of the standard is driver health and wellness, which requires that the drivers are assessed for fitness to drive. The standard also requires a fatigue management plan, including a driver duty roster, monitoring of duty hours and driving hours. It is critical that drivers get enough sleep to avoid falling asleep at the wheel. Another wellness requirement is the screening of drivers for possible intoxication, which we know prevents a severe risk impact. 4. Driver training. The fourth pillar of the RTMS standard is the requirement for a structured driver training program to be in place. The training program should focus on key criteria, including defensive driving techniques such as keeping a safe following distance, driving at a safe speed, avoid using a cell phone while driving, driver health and wellness. So, as can be seen, RTMS is all about managing risk and promoting safety in a fleet operation. The RTMS has been implemented by leading transport companies since 2006 and is widely accepted as the gold standard for fleet operators. RTMS, it's simply doing the right thing.
Thanks, Harry. Over to you.
Thank you, Oliver. Definitely simply doing the right thing, RTMS. Very important to self-regulation. Thank you very much. And it's such a big concern, this fatal crashes on our roads. Also, obviously, the ripple effect in terms of cargo flow. So thank you very much for sensitizing us on this, Oliver, and I believe they'll have some questions for you in the panel discussion. Thank you so much. Right, ladies and gents, last but not least, we've got Ms. Hannah Belan. She's the head of cargo booking, Avery Aviation Software. She's going to talk about how digitalization can bring efficiencies and transform the air cargo quote booking process for the benefit of all in the supply chain. Thank you very much, Hannah.
Hi, my name is Vitaly. I'm founder and CEO of Avery Aviation Software, and today we are presenting our solution, Cargo Booking. Cargo Booking is created as a marketplace, and it's already live in South Africa. You have a lot of airlines which you can quote and book on the platform. I'm very satisfied with the Cargo Booking as a solution, and our team is very proud of what it can bring to the customers in the local market. Let me introduce you to Anna, who is leading the project, to give you more details.
Yeah, thank you, Vitaly. Good morning, everyone. I'm Anna Belan, head of Cargo Booking, a plug-and-play tool providing an air cargo quotes and booking, which can be integrated to all cargo management systems. Cargo Booking provides a real-time information on flights and rates, facilitating an instant search, compare, quote, and book solution via customer portal, by email, or API. Here you can see the login page to the Cargo Booking Marketplace portal. To access the platform, all you have to do is request for registration via our website. You just fill in a quick form and you get user access within 30 minutes. Getting back to the platform, after logging in, you'll see the dashboard displaying all your created quotes and bookings. Here you can easily navigate using the Filters tab. To create a new booking, you can either clone an existing one or click on Create Cargo Quote to build one from scratch. The contact details will auto-populate from the system, and you also get a chance to leave a comment for the GSA or airline. Then you can start to build in your routing. You can select here the specific airline, or you can also leave it as all to see the variety of flight options available through Cargo Booking platform. Just fill in the origin and destination and start entering your shipment details. You can choose the product type and select the commodity description and also change the date of movement. If you have any shipment dimensions, you can use our AI tool, which is called eMagic, which saves you from inputting all the information manually. You just copy and paste the email text or any table from Microsoft Excel, and eMagic will recognize the information and will calculate automatically the volume, density, and chargeable weight. Then you click to proceed for the flight search. The Cargo Booking platform will give you a comprehensive list of all available flight options for the variety of airlines with the contract or tariff rate fitted to your organization. We also carry out a capacity check and only provide you with the option fitted for your shipment specifications. Here you can proceed with the booking. Just click on Book Now, select the available number from the allocated stock, or just input your own one, and click on the green button to complete the booking. Once the booking is completed, then on the next stage, you will receive the unique reference number on your quote, and the booking available number attached to it. Simultaneously, you'll receive the booking confirmation email to the address that you provided in the form. If you have any similar booking, you can now clone the quote, adjust the details of your shipment, and again proceed for the flight search. Let's say this time you want to request the spot rate from the airline or GSA. Again, you'll receive the list of flights. Then all you need to do is just select one or more options for the spot rate and leave the common if necessary. And then you need to submit this request to the airline. At this moment, the quote will turn under the pending status for you, and airline or GSA will receive the immediate email with your request. So once they provide you with the new rate and any relevant notes, you'll receive an email like this. And here you can open and check all the details directly from the email, clicking on this link. From this stage, you again can review the information, see the notes, and decide if you are good with the booking. So you click on the book button, again select the number from stock or input your own, and complete it by clicking on confirm booking. And again, you'll receive the booking confirmation email just right to your mailbox. Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions about cargo booking or any part that I demoed for you today, I'll be joining the panel session. And I'm now going to pass on to my colleague, Tristan. He will continue with some closing remarks about Avery and cargo booking.
Hi, my name's Tristan Koch. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Avery Aviation Software. I really hope you enjoyed the presentation that you saw from Anna Balan on the cargo booking platform that we showed you today. It's also really exciting to be talking to you about Africa. I had the privilege of working in the Africa region for a number of airlines, British Airways and American Airlines. And I was always really impressed by the professionalism and expertise of the logistics industry in the country. And that's one of the reasons we chose South Africa to launch cargo booking. We realize there's a rich history and legacy of logistics in the country, and also one that's open to new ways of doing business. I hope from what you saw today from the demonstration, you can see the value of the digital products that Avery is now bringing to the market. Cargo booking is an open platform. One of the unique features of it is that there's no costs, not to you, the forwarder, not to the airline or their GSAs. So I'd really encourage you to look again, perhaps at the presentation Anna gave you, log on to the website and register to use the platform. It will give you access to a lot of capacity on airlines, perhaps that you haven't done business with before, or that you don't know have solutions that you might have an interest in. So thank you very much again to the association for the opportunity to talk to you. Again, I urge you to go onto the platform and see what we can do for you, and hopefully we'll see you on there soon. Thank you very much. Hi.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Anna. Ladies and gents, isn't this great? Definitely worth our while to investigate into this solution. It's a beautiful solution, and bringing in lots of efficiency into the supply chain. And I thank you so much. So can we please ask all our presenters of today to unmute themselves and switch on their cameras so that we can do a panel discussion with our panels. Oliver Nadi, you there? Jaco, is Miles going to join? Do you know?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes, Miles. All right, I believe Oliver will join soon. Okay, ladies and gents, you're welcome to ask questions to our panelists. You can either direct the question to one member of the panel or to the panel as a whole. And then, you know, how you can do that is either you can raise your hand by using the more option at the bottom of your screen. You'll see there's reactions and so on that you can make use to raise a hand, or you can unmute. And once you've unmuted, then, you know, I can see that you've unmuted and then I recognize you. You can ask your question. So there we have Oliver as well. Good. So now it's over to our audience and you're welcome to ask questions. I see there's quite a number of people on YouTube as well. You're welcome to text your question in this YouTube chat function here. And I will then, you know, ask the question on your behalf to the panel. So any questions there? Let's see. The panelists, you're welcome to mute yourselves now. I've got you in the spotlight, and we can better see when one of the audience unmutes. Let's give them some time. It usually takes time for them to think about their questions. Maybe I can throw a question into the panel while we're waiting. And that is, we saw in a question, you know, to Miles and them, you know, the solution was developed for road transport across the border at Beitbridge. But what are we going to do to do the same type of thing for rail? Do you think there's a solution for this? Can somebody help me, please?
I do. I do think the scope of the project, unfortunately, was only for the main road freight users and passengers and vehicles and buses. For us, we call it a border system. It's actually a traffic management and cargo management system. So effectively, it can operate on whether it's port traffic and also rail. I do think there definitely needs to be some sort of PPP investment into rail infrastructure. Unfortunately, in this project, it was not part of the scope, but I do believe in future they were looking at, particularly between South Africa and Zimbabwe, that bridge where the rail actually goes over the Limpopo River does get an upgrade. I think that infrastructure, unfortunately, needs to be upgraded. But along with that, I mean, the management of queuing and traffic, we certainly can do, and we'd love to do. In fact, that's one of our strategies, is to go all the way from port, all the way up the corridor, including rail, just to manage the traffic, the queuing, and the information. I think that's important. The information that gets shared between port, road, rail, to the destination ports. That's our strategic goal, is to facilitate that information across the different modes of transport. So we would love to. We would love that willingness for government and, you know, private to invest in the rail side as well.
Thank you, Miles. Well said. Devlin, I was thinking in terms of the collaboration between the different work streams of NLCC, that was so encouraging, you talking about that. How was Dr. Maria's, you know, how does she see it? Do you think she's got hope for us that there will be success from the NLCC?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Harry. In our discussion, she remains optimistic. But what gives us comfort is there's tangible benefits that we can see in terms of stabilization, in terms of the 100-day rapid response testing that's been done in conjunction with DCT and University of Pretoria. There's talks of extending it across the country. So there's definitely a lot of hope and optimism that lies ahead. Especially we see the government now engaging much more closely with private sector. There needs to be the maturity and understanding that it's not one over the other, but it is more collaboration to achieve the desired outcome, which is attaining cargo throughput in this instance, and creating efficiencies, ultimately supporting the economy as well. I think early on, if I can just touch on a few through you, Harry, the fellow panelists, I think with the presentation from Yaku and Miles on the let's look at Beitbridge as an example, the crossing between South Africa and going into Zimbabwe, which ultimately feed into Chirundu, into Zambia, and then Kasumbalesa ultimately. But those bottlenecks have, for the longest time, been a pain point for many a transporter and cargo owner and even a clearing agent that's impacted. And I think the efficiency that we see live as a result of the deployment of the technology that Jaco presented as well is phenomenal. So I think that's a step in the right direction in terms of just building on the public-private partnership and having the maturity to move forward in that regard. And I think Oliver touched on an excellent point early on in terms of the national standards with the RTMS specifically. If we have an accident on the road, it creates a bottleneck. And right now, the N3 remains the heart of connectivity between Durban and going into Gauteng and feeding into cargo into the hinterland. So I think if you have any bottlenecks there, it creates a problem. So the discussion between the involvement in public and private sector becomes key. And I think also then the initiatives of private sector, if you look at Anna's presentation in terms of the software and the choice to launch it in South Africa remains a destination of choice for foreign direct investment as well, with other role players in the sector for investment in technology and other areas as well. So I think, Harry, to answer the question in summary, yes, there's hope for South Africa, and we believe that the first steps of progression are being witnessed as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Devon. That's very encouraging to hear. Thank you so much. Anna, I'm curious, in terms of the system you guys have, is there report generation in a management information system functionality in the system? Can you maybe tell us more about that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Harry, for the question. We have two main projects. The first one, which is the Avery Aviation Software. This is the huge ERP system that actually covers all the business processes for the GSAs, airlines, charter brokers, and OBC customers as well. And Cargo Book, and which is an online tool, which is used again by both the GSA and airline on one side to quote and to create the bookends, to transfer the bookends to the airline systems automatically, as well as they can be integrated to their own management systems. And from the other side, we have the forwarders pod, which is used like kind of the marketplace where you can basically log in and see all the availability and all the airlines we have present through the Cargo Booking portal. And then the forwarders can simply, without any interactions through the email or phone calls, basically can just book the shipment right away, or at least check the flight's availability, check the space availability, and also receive the contract or tether freights, and either book it immediately and receive the booking confirmation, or just request a spot trade, again, which will turn to the digital quote. And the good part that you will still have it saved on your side and you can always get back to that. And also the good part that the bookend that the forwarder completes through the Cargo Booking tool will immediately appear in the airline system. So basically cover both solutions. They cover the whole process that might be needed in order to make the process of the management of the cargo business management, and also the management of the business of the forwarders more efficient.
Thank you, Anna. Well said. I want to come back to you just now, talk about the safety of one's information in your system, but let me go, while you think, let me go to Jaco. Jaco, you're quite a tech guy, and I was just curious in terms of, fourth industrial revolution and fifth industrial revolution in the future, maybe a view into the future. Where are we going with systems like this?
So I think it's very interesting. It will definitely assist in making processes a bit faster. We're currently actually looking at a bit of a language model in our software, and this is specifically to assist service desk persons. So for example, a service desk assistant that sits at the border, he helps with calls or issues at the border. This language model assists them to summarize the tickets that was logged into a problem statement, a solution, and the outcome that was given. So based on what the people logged, what the problem was, and so forth, making it a bit better to understand, a bit clearer and easier to report on and go on. So all of these elements are working into bettering these systems. Even if you look at the vehicle classification part, I mean, I was talking about this deep learning system where the AI learns through the images, and I'm pretty sure we use these hardware paired to our systems, like automatic classification, number plate recognition. These technologies are just going to get better in the next. It's just going to boom. If you see how technologies boomed in the last 5 years, I could just imagine how it can be in the next 5 years. And fortunately, we maintain our solutions at the border. We're part of the concession for 17 years, so these will just upgrade along with the technologies that upgrades.
Very interesting. Thank you, Jaco. Ola, if I can ask you, if I'm the cargo owner, how can JC auditors make my life easier? Just unmute.
I was talking to myself. I'm sure there's a song by that name somewhere. I was going to say, I think as a cargo owner, every cargo owner wants to get his or her product as quickly as possible with the least amount of stress to the point of destination and grow their market share in whatever they're doing. Part of the challenge is that on the roads, like I said, nobody owns the roads. Nobody takes responsibility for what happens. So if your cargo is stuck on the road, you assume it's congestion, or it's a crash, or it's an incident, and you have to live with it. But what we do, Harry, is we try and, in working with the clients, make them understand the key importance of risk assessments, assessing the route risks, assessing their own risks in terms of if something does go wrong, do they have a plan B? What is typically your route risk assessments? Do they understand, are they analyzing the trends in their processes that make them aware where are the pain points, where the inefficiencies lying? Because often I think human default is such that when we have a process, we assume it's the only way to do things. But when you begin to start to analyze the data, analyze the small incidents, analyze the inefficiencies, then you begin to understand or diagnose where are your problems. So as you know, we've got, I think, the top 10 logistics companies in the country that we do compliance work for. And you'll be surprised, even at the high level that they operate on, we found areas of improvement that has helped them to deal with things and to make them better. When we go to the SME sector, it's where I love working the most, to be honest, because there we find the biggest opportunities for improvement. Because often SMEs come into the market, you got a bit of cash, let's buy a truck or two, let's get going. They don't understand the importance of systems, the importance of using technology to help them manage. So when we go in there, we have to show them these things. And there we find the biggest opportunities for improvement. In a country like ours, where I think many stakeholders are compelled to bring in new entrants and to promote new entrants, specifically previously disadvantaged individuals, new entrants often don't have capacity of how to do business professionally in logistics. And that's something we are very passionate about, is empowering them with the know-how, how to do it, and to operate at a base that would give them a reasonably better chance at succeeding than not. So I hope that answers what you had in mind.
Absolutely, Oliver. Thank you so much. All right, before we ask closing remarks from each one of our panelists, I want to get back to Anna. Anna, is my information safe on cargo booking?
Yeah, absolutely. You can trust us. We have really high security measurements to provide from any lack of the information for any part that actually using our tools. If necessary, we can even, usually we set up a separate call for the customers, and we provide all the necessary information on the call, as well as we send it out. It's a bit of NDA information, right? So we send it out privately after signing the contract, of course. And yeah, definitely you can be really sure, as this is the cloud-based system, and it's secured, and we gone through the majority of procedures to monitor, and we also keep the track on the innovations that are available in the market, and we keep on with the updates. So definitely, if you have any questions, you can address them to us, and we will just prove all the security.
Thank you, Hannah. Really appreciate that. Ladies and gents, we will send you guys an email and also share Hannah's contact details with you guys. We want to get in contact with them. All right, it seems to me the audience is quite happy listening to us for their own good questions. Ladies and gents, I'm going to ask the panels for closing remarks, and the sequence will be kindly, Jaco, can we start with you? Then we have Oliver, then we have Miles, then we have Hannah, and then we'll ask Devlin as our host to close the session for us. And we also want to make use of this opportunity to thank SAAFF, South African Association of Freight Forwarders, for hosting us today. We really appreciate it, Devlin. So you can close the session after everybody's given their closing remarks. So let's start with Jaco for some closing remarks. Thank you, Jaco.
Thank you. I think firstly, thanks for the opportunity for us to showcase the project that we were part of at Whitebridge. I think earlier Devlin actually took everyone's presentations and everything together so nicely. And based on that, I mean, it looks and it seems like Africa is really pushing on the side of bettering in technology, in public-private partnerships, in safety measures, everything to better our roads. I think we came at a crisis point, and we're trying to turn around and make things better again. So thanks for everything, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jaco. I appreciate that. Oliver.
Harry, the one word I'd like to leave is collaboration. I think the nature of any economy depends on a number of stakeholders, and whilst there may be competing interests in any given environment, we certainly need to, despite competing interests, collaborate for the greater good. The one thing that often bothers me tremendously is often we have a very myopic view in industry and in government, where we look at our interests only. But I think if we are to make serious, I think, improvements in terms of efficiency on the roads, we need to collaborate more, we need to debate more, and we need to be more understanding of other views in defining the way forward. And of course, it's phenomenal to see how tech is leading the way. I'm just amazed at how AI has pretty much become a part of our lives so quickly. And how do we then now use that, the new tech environment, continue to collaborate and make a difference? Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Oliver. Much appreciated. Let's go to Miles.
Thanks, Harry, and fellow panelists. I think, again, it really does summarize the collaboration that is required to get this, this problem solved. It is a big elephant, but piece by piece, I think we're making progress. Beitbridge modernization, Zimbabwe side, is the first big step in modernizing a border post. South African borders, I believe, Border Management Agency, they've issued out tenders to modernize the borders and ports in future. So we do see already there's a willingness to. They've seen the model. It's proven that it's going to grow there, and further into that, Devlin mentioned in the corridor, you've got Chirundu, you've got Kasumbalesa, IceTech. We're trying not to operate in isolation. We want. Our vision is that this information and vehicle and cargo information is shared and transparent across borders. So from our perspective, we're working hard across multiple new initiatives on the corridor more border posts to grow it. And at the same time, bilateral agreements is critical between these countries to share that information. There still is some red tape and hurdles, but I do see that there is movement already between countries, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, South Africa. So there's definitely improvement there. It's encouraging. And we're already on the start of this path to that vision of free movement of goods on the continent.
Miles, well said. Thank you so much. Anna, closing remarks.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you everyone for listening. I'm really proud to be part of it. And I believe that all of us, with all the innovative ideas that we have, we're kind of the driving engine for the brighter future. And I do encourage you to go to Cargo Booking Area website and just to request for registration and try our platform and see how easy the booking process can be. It's absolutely free of charge, and you're very welcome for any kind of feedback.
Absolutely. And I'm quite sure people will definitely join on that website. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We really appreciate that. Devlin, our host, please close the session for us. Just unmute.
There we go. I think in the spirit of collaboration, I was collaborating with Oliver there and also speaking to myself. But I think in the spirit of collaboration, it's about speaking to each other. Harry, closing remarks from our side. Firstly, on behalf of our CEO, Dr. Unita Maria, the extended SAAFF Secretariat, the SAAFF Board, and all our associates, we want to thank the Transport Forum for the platform and for the opportunity to engage. I believe it's much more than a talk shop. There's going to be a lot of collaboration amongst the panelists as well as we move forward. Just on the back of what Miles spoke of now in terms of the bilateral and multilateral engagements, you've got efficiency on the one side of the border. It also needs to dovetail on the other side of the border. Then you have cargo throughput in every sense of the word, because you support both the import and export flow. Having said that, I look at ICE Tech. ICE generally is the acronym that you have either next to a loved one's name or emergency contact in case of emergency. And I think we've definitely had many emergencies in terms of bottlenecks at the border post congestion. So ICE Tech, very apt a platform and deployment of technology and intellect to minimize. I think the willingness of the BMA to engage and the willpower as well of the current commissioner of the BMA in engaging with private sector to stimulate movement through modernization is important. Of course, we know there's the ASICUDA plus in the customs side, and there's Interfront in South Africa, but a lot of these data tables are informed with the WCO. So I think there's commonalities that we can leverage off. I like the take that Oliver put forward in terms of supporting the SMMEs and the SMEs to enter into the market and do so, so that you set them up for success and not for failure. And that's so, I've actually got that goosebumps when you mentioned that. I think it's important to have SMMEs that actually stimulate the economy. I think that's what the studies show as well, that a large sector of the informal economy is actually responsible for creating jobs. And, another SMME that continues to thrive is obviously the multiplier effect. One person in employment, feeds 10 people. So I think that definitely contributes to the economy, and perhaps maybe then in some way, shape, or form influences SAAFF to cut interest rates and create more spending in that regard. So that's obviously on the SMME side. And then Jaco talked about the integration of technology, especially if you look at AFCFTA. Africa is the world looks to Africa. And as much as the AFCFTA is eliminating the tariff barriers, there are various non-tariff barriers, which include infrastructure issues, amongst other things, but also border processes in a largely landlocked African continent. And I think this is where attaining cargo throughput through leveraging of technologies and best practices, integration of intellect and concepts in that regard will help Africa move forward. And we can see it's not just once more a talk shop, but there's actual action that takes place. So I think SAAFF commits to working with the stakeholders today in taking the implementation forward, and in whatever way we've got agreements with as private sector association representing the apex voice of supply chain in sub-Saharan Africa, Southern Africa. We've got strong links with the SR region, with ECOWAS as well as the Central African countries through our association, and of course through FIAT on an international level, where we can bring the role players together. And of course, I think anything that simplifies the process. Anna spoke about the platform that's available now to reduce turnaround times, improve efficiencies. Again, Harry, I think you created magic today in attaining cargo throughput, because all of the ideas that were shared today will definitely be implemented, and that the discussion taken further into action. So we've had esteemed veteran panelists, the privilege to be a part of the panel with them. And once more, on behalf of SAAFF, thank you for the opportunity to the Transport Forum, yourself, Harry, as custodian. Thank you.